Welcome back. Today we are going to do something that I know a lot of us have heard this year quite a bit, and it's going to be about square numbers. Now, with square numbers, we always need to remember that by thinking about perfect squares and multiplication. Now, let's go over one example really quick here. Let's do 3 by 3. And we talked about these at the beginning of the year. A 3 by 3 array. Okay, we have 3 rows on this side and 3 columns up here. Now, as we're looking at this, we see a 3 by 3 is going to be 9 x's. Now, simply put, 9 is a square number. Now, it really doesn't get any more complicated than that. You just need to think of, how can I draw these as square numbers? So let's do another one, and we'll keep them fairly short here, and you'll start to get the hang of these. I know there's a few people that still have questions about these, but we'll do 5. If you have 5 rows, or 5 in a row, you need 5 rows to make a perfect square. And we have 5 by 5. And I hope there's a few of you that are already thinking, what is 5 times 5? And you're already thinking, I know how many he's going to draw. And I have 5 here. I have 5 columns. 5 by 5 is going to be 25. So we know 25 is also a square number. All right. Now we're also going to talk list. Let's go down and list the square numbers. Well, we know 1 times 1 is 1. That's a square number. 2 by 2 is going to be 4. That's a square number. 3 by 3 is going to be a square number. So in the past, I've also asked you to list all the square numbers up to, let's say, 49. Or maybe I might say, I'm thinking of a number from 1 to 50. It's a square number. And then there's people saying numbers like 50. And there's people saying numbers like 20. Because they're thinking of that, maybe that 10, but they're not thinking of perfect squares. So let's do 4 times 4. And as we go, hopefully you're able to list these in your head and watch as we go. 5 by 5 is a perfect square, so it's going to be 25, and that's one we did on the other side. Let's do 6 times 6. 36 is a square number. Also, 7 by 7 is equal to a square number of 49. Let's go over to the next side. 8 by 8 is 64. That's a perfect square. 9 times 9. A lot of favorites around there with 81. Well, let's go 10 times 10. Another one that's pretty popular. 100 is a square number. Let's go all the way up to 12 times 12. 11 times 11 is 121, perfect square. And then 12 times 12 is another popular product of 144. That is a perfect square. So again, if I was to draw each one of these, each one would look like a perfect square if I represented it as an array. And I wanted to end the video with a little bit more advanced look into this, but it's still going to be all based on the work we just did on the previous few seconds ago. Let's look at, for example, 3 squared, which is going to be the same thing as 3 times 3. This 2 up here is called an exponent. It just means we have 2 of those multiplied together, so we have 3 and 3. Multiplied towards each other, and we have 9. So 3 squared is equal to 9. Just for the sake of seeing how you're doing here, let's do 5 squared. I wonder if anybody would know 5 squared. It is 25, because 5 squared is twice, or 5 times 5 is 25. Now let's go finish this off. Let's try another one. 10 squared. 10 squared is 10 times 10, which is a square number, of course. 100. So if you take any number, let's say we take 6 squared, and let's write that a little bit better. 6 squared, remember that exponent right there, and we would say that is going to be a square number because it's squared, and it's 36. 6 squared is 36. And we did just briefly touch on this right here, and this is called a square root of 36. And we think about root in a tree. It's at the bottom. It's where it all starts, what gets nutrients to the tree. Well, the beginning of 36 being squared was 6, the root. So the square root of 36 is 6. Just like over here, let's take a look at this example. The square root of 9 is equal to, you guessed it, 3. So if anybody ever asked you the square root of a number, and then we'll finish off right here with 100. The square root of 100, and if you look above, there's definitely a clue up there. It is 10. And that does it for square numbers. I think if you watch this maybe one more time, and if you're still not quite sure, I think you will be in just a matter of time. Thank you. Bye-bye.